Hi, it's Maria from Women into Wellness, and in this video I am going to be guiding you through the cycle of mindfulness, so stay tuned with me. Welcome to my channel, Women into Wellness. This is where I provide you with tools, tips and strategies pertaining to movement, nutrition, mindfulness and lifestyle to help you maximise your potential for wellness and well-being. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please go ahead and do so. Click that bell for notifications when new videos are published. And also, if you like the content in this video, please go ahead and comment, like and share the link so that others can benefit too. So let's get started on the cycle of mindfulness. Now, there are 4 different aspects to mindfulness when it comes to learning about the cycle of mindfulness and learning how you can then practice mindfulness, develop your ability to engage in mindful activities and get to that point where you feel like mindfulness is now fully integrated and you know how to do it. So we're going to go through these 4. I'll list them first and then I'll delve into each one a bit deeper. The first stage of mindfulness is self-directed focus. This is where you're focusing on something that brings you into a state of mindfulness. The second part is a wandering or distraction of the mind. Part 3 to the cycle is that you then have an observation of self-awareness and you notice the wandering of the mind. And then part 4 of the cycle is that you gently guide yourself back towards your self-directed focus. Okay, so it forms this cycle wherein you are moving from one to the next repeatedly in a process that allows you to keep the practice of mindfulness continuous. So let's dive a little bit deeper into each section of the cycle. So I first said that we start off with a self-directed focus. Now, this is probably the part that we all think that we need to be mastering straight away with mindfulness, because this is the part where usually you are focused on something where you are trying to allow the mind to be still, be present and in the moment. So you might be engaged in an activity. It could be doing something like mindful movement, doing something like Tai Chi or doing yoga where you are focused on that movement. It could be focusing on your breath and breathing or on releasing tension from your body. And this might be in a guided meditation, for example, where you're asked to clench certain muscle or body parts and then to relax and release them. It may be that you are using the gaze as a focus. So you might be gazing on a flickering flame or gazing on a visual if you're watching a video of something, or perhaps sitting and just looking at something calm and peaceful, whether that be the sea or at trees, anything that actually allows you to draw your mind and focus towards something that promotes stillness. So, like I said, this is called self-directed focus, okay? So it's something that you are actively trying to be in the moment with and be present and allow the mind to become still. Now, sometimes we might think that that's mindfulness right there, and if we're not mastering that, then we're not getting it and we're not being mindful. Well, that's not the case, because as we know, there are 3 other parts to it that are part of the whole package of the mindfulness practice. So you're doing your self-directed process. What will naturally happen next is that your mind will start to wander. It will become distracted. Sorts of thoughts and different things that you might perceive around you will start to come into your focus. So you're no longer only focused on your breathing or on that flickering candle flame, because you're now thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, or perhaps you're planning something for tomorrow, or ruminating on something that happened yesterday or in the past. So your mind will wander. Now, when your mind wanders, this, remember, is all part of mindfulness. It's a natural part of the process. And for most of us, this is going to happen because your mind is an amazing, complex organ, and it is wired and it is triggered to have thousands of thoughts in each minute or moment of the day. Now, when your mind actually starts to wander, and it starts to go off on these tangents or down these rabbit holes, you may exist in this phrase of distraction or this frame of distraction for a few seconds or a few minutes or 10 minutes. And then at some point, you're going to notice that your mind has now wandered and it's been distracted and it's thinking about what you're going to wear next week or what you need to get done when you finish your mindful session. So what needs to happen next is part 3, and this is that natural notice or observation, and it's a certain amount of self-awareness that then attaches itself to part 3, because you have just had this distraction of the mind wandering, and now you have the presence of mind, the awareness and the observation to notice, hang on a minute, I have come out of my self-directed focus and I am now thinking about other things, and perhaps this is not where I want my mind to be right now because I'm trying to be in that mindful, focused place. Now, one thing I will say about this part, which is part 3, the observation and the awareness, is that once you start to notice your mind has wandered, it's really important at this stage to try and nurture and foster a sense of non-judgment about the fact that you've been distracted. So rather than thinking, oh, damn it, you know, I've started to think of something else, I was trying to be mindful, it's not working, I'm crap at doing mindfulness, this practice is not working for me, I'm just going to stop now, give up, what's the point, this happens every time. Don't get into a negative headspace and just accept that this is a natural, acceptable part of the mindfulness practice. And in fact, all of these parts of the cycle are you practicing and getting better at being mindful. And it's almost like building up that mindful muscle, if you like. So try and be non-judgmental when you notice your mind wandering. Just simply observe it. It's not a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's just something that has happened, and it's something that happens as part of mindfulness. Once you have noticed that and you've had that non-judgmental observation, you then move on to part 4 of the cycle, which is that you want to then gently guide yourself back to your self-directed focus. Okay, and we say gently because there's not really a way that you can force yourself into it. You don't want to be aggressive in your internal dialogue, just like we didn't want to be aggressive or disparaging when we noticed and observed that our mind was wandering. So you want to kind of gently nudge yourself back to the self-directed focus. So gently pulling yourself into thinking, okay, we were just thinking about that. It's not a problem. I'm now going to focus back in on my breathing. Or I'm now going to really notice the flicker of that flame, the colour of the flame, the movement of the flame, and I'm going to hold myself there in that moment of focus and be present there once again. So as you can see, you become this cycle as you go through mindfulness. Now, what I want to add is that this may happen many times throughout your mindfulness session. And of course, it may depend on how long your mindfulness session is. It may be that you're squeezing in 3 minutes of nice, relaxing, mindful breathing. It may be that you are doing a 50-minute guided meditation or a yoga class that's an hour long. It could be that you are taking a walk through nature and you wanted to just focus on the sights and sounds, and that might be a 15-minute stroll. It doesn't really matter what the length of your mindfulness practice is when you begin this. All that matters is that however many times you go through the cycle, you just remind yourself this is a natural part of you practicing, and this is what mindfulness is. It's being in those 4 different components of the cycle, allowing yourself to flow through them and guiding yourself gently back with non-judgment, and trying to get to that place of being present and in the moment whenever you can. So how do you actually master the cycle of mindfulness? It simply comes down to accepting that this is a practice, and like anything else, the more that you do it, the more likely it is that you will get better at doing it. And what would that look like? Well, for example, it means that when you're in your self-directed focus, it takes longer before your mind starts to wander. So that could be one clue that you're actually building that mindful muscle and getting better at your mindful practice. It can also mean that when you're in that state of wonderment, if you like, that you are in that state for a shorter period of time. So instead of being in it for 3 or 4 minutes where you've really gone off and you're thinking about your whole plan for your holiday, you caught yourself much earlier on and realised, I'm not supposed to be thinking about that. I'm supposed to be breathing, or I'm supposed to be listening to this guided meditation. So instead of you being there for 3 minutes, you're only there for 2 or 3 seconds, for example. And it may mean that when you come to that state of observation where you've noticed that your mind wandered, that you are not judgmental, so that you just observe it objectively. It's not a positive thing, it's not a negative thing, it's just something that happened, it's something that I just did. That can then be a good indication that you are starting to really get much more developed and mastering this mindfulness technique, this mindfulness muscle of yours. And then when you get through to that final stage where you are guiding yourself back to the self-directed focus, then perhaps it's much easier and quicker for you to come back to that focus place where you are just honed in and focused on relaxing your muscles, being in the moment, doing the yoga pose. So I hope this has given you some helpful information about how you can start to master mindfulness by realizing and understanding the cycle of mindfulness and accepting that it's simply a process of practicing and allowing yourself to flow through the 4 different phases with non-judgment, gentle guidance, and with a willingness to keep trying and accept that it's all part of the process, and the more you do it, the more likely you'll get better. And it's important as well to remember that doing this whole process, whether you feel like you're wandering every 20 seconds or not, the whole thing is an important process. You will benefit from simply being in that moment, coming in and out of that moment and guiding yourself back and around the circle, having that ebb and flow. It's all a beneficial process, and that gradually the more you do it, then you will feel like you are mastering mindfulness. And just a word about mastering mindfulness. Now, when we think of, for example, a guru or someone who has really truly mastered mindfulness, all it simply means is that they have mastered this cycle and this ability to move through the phases much easier. So for example, they find that they take a longer period to get into the distraction, or the distraction perhaps doesn't happen, or that when it does, they are very quickly aware of it and able to guide themselves back to that place of mindfulness much quicker with non-judgment. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, then what I want you to do is drop in the comments below and let me know which of the 4 phases of the cycle do you think you need to work on most. And also, if you found value in the video, then please go ahead, leave me a comment, click the like button, and go ahead and share the link so that other people can benefit too. I thank you for watching today, and until next time, I wish you well and enjoy your mindfulness practice.